We're in the beautiful village of Roughleaf, the home of by far the most famous of all the Pendle witches. That's the fabulous Alice Nutter. Over the years, many people have written about her. Some authors have mixed fiction with non-fiction, but on every occasion, Alice always comes out as being the innocent victim of what I can only describe really as male chauvinism. She was 60 years old and lived at Roughleaf Hall. Beautiful building, it's still with us to this very day. She had tenant farmers that farmed on her land. Some of those farmers were called John and Jane Bulcock, and they complained to her about land disputes, about people taking cattle and sheep, knocking her fencing back, taking away stone walls, etc. She said, "Don't worry, I shall investigate for you." She went to see the local magistrate, Roger Noel, and he refused to see her because she was a woman. So therefore, she made her way to the city of Lancaster. She walked into a court session to the words of, "It's a woman! A woman! Get her out!" She grabbed hold of furniture. She would not let go of her grip. And the senior judges at Lancaster said, "Well, let her have her say." In one day, she won all her land disputes fairly and squarely. As she left Lancaster that day, she left a fuming Roger Noel, the local magistrate, who was reprimanded by the senior magistrates. And he thought, "I need to get rid of this woman. I need to get rid of John and Jane Bulcock as well. How can I do this?" Noel turned the ace card up his sleeve. 9-year-old Jeanette Devise, who had been staying with him. She readily pointed to the three and made her damning accusation. And with that, Alice knew she was being convicted of being a witch. A woman of her great intellect would have known what this meant to her future. In 2012, 10 markers were inserted on the route from Pendle to the city of Lancaster. They're known simply as tercets. They, of course, have the history on the side of them, but this one is dedicated to the most famous of all those witches, the fabulous Alice Nutter. The journey to Lancaster must have been harrowing. Through dense forest. Did they walk? Were they in horse-drawn carts? We will never know. What we do know is they would have been travelling there expecting to be hung. Their journey ended at this great castle. This building behind me is known simply as the Judges' Lodgings, and that's exactly what it was. All the circuit judges would stay here at Lancaster for the assizes. Behind me, the imposing entrance to Lancaster City Castle. As our accused made their way up this very road, with Alice probably at the end of that queue, they make their way inside the castle. They are taken deep down underground into a place called the Well Tower, this horrible, deep dungeon where not even a chink of light will get down to them. There they're going to wait until August of that year. We know that the entire court decision makers, from judge to jury, would have been male of high standing. This really was not a place to be for women in 1612. Alice was taken to Gallows Hill, now called Williamson Park, and quite visible from the castle. Shannon is a 12th generation granddaughter of Alice, and we visit the final chapter of the story together. Just behind us is the place of the execution in August 1612. How do you think your great relative would have felt that day?
It's hard to imagine really, but I imagine she'd have been terrified, and obviously knowing that this was the final day and everyone's watching her, and it must have been awful.
Huge crowds gathering to watch the execution. Many people believe she was totally innocent of the crimes against her, which I personally believe as well. But you must be very proud of the fact that you are related to this Great Britain.
Yeah, definitely. So the fact that she actually stood up for what she believed in the entire time, and literally right up until the last moment, it is inspiring.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you very much indeed.